Hello, good day, what's up? Sir Howard here. Welcome to another episode where we will discuss another psychological skill that can lead us to personal growth. And as I always do, tuwing ako ay nagsisimula ng video on this topic, everything that I'm going to say here on the law of reflection is based on the book by John Maxwell entitled The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So for those of you who are into self-development, who are into motivation, I highly recommend that you read John Maxwell's book. Napakadaling intindihin, napaka-practical ng mga sinasabi in this book. I highly recommend that you buy this and you read the book. So pag-uusapan natin ngayon yung chapter from this book that is entitled The Law of Reflection, which tells us learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. Let me repeat, learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. Actually, this law is based on a biblical wisdom from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 telling us that there is time for everything. That is the way God designed the world to be. Lahat ng activity na ginagawa ng tao, merong tamang oras for those activities. Like if you read the entire Ecclesiastes chapter 3, may kita doon na the author specifically identified different activities na dapat merong tamang oras. There is a time to cry, there is a time to laugh, a time to build, a time to destroy. Basta ang pinaka-point lang nung Ecclesiastes is for every activity under heaven, merong tamang activity or merong tamang oras for that activity. So in connection to the law of reflection from Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, basically ang sinasabi lang ng chapter is there is also time for us to pause and reflect. So lahat naman tayo, everyday gumagalaw tayo towards growth. We do things that we think will help us grow. Pero ang sinasabi ni John Maxwell, we also need to identify the time where we pause and reflect. So may panahon na tayo ay nagtatrabaho for our personal growth, but that activity towards growth must at some point or along the way or once in a while should stop. We should stop to pause and reflect. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng pause in this context? Pause means we stop the actions that we do. Every movement that we do towards our growth, ihihinto natin yon. And reflect means you ask and answer key questions about the actions and the movements that you are doing towards your growth. Okay, so dalawang activities ito pero very related. Again, you pause, stop everything you're doing, stop all the movement, and then reflect. Magtatanong ka ng mga tanong at sasagutin mo yung mga tanong na yon in connection to the things that you have been doing. Para mas malinaw, bigyan ko kayo ng simpleng example how this is done. Halimbawa, you are always working every day to be a better basketball player. Yan yung definition mo ng personal growth. You want to grow in the sport that you are playing such as basketball. So every day what you do, you train, you lift weights, you play basketball, you watch games, you read books about the sport. Again, all of those movements are going towards your personal growth as a basketball player. Pero pag i-apply natin yung law of reflection, ang unang gagawin mo again is pause. So what do? You stop all activities. You stop playing the game first. You stop weightlifting. You stop watching basketball. You stop reading books about basketball for the meantime. Temporary lang naman. So you drop everything. But there is a reason why you pause. Hindi lang basta-basta nag-pause ka kasi wala lang. The reason is because you want to reflect. And as I've said a while ago, to reflect means you ask questions and you answer those questions in connection to the movements that you have been doing. So tatanungin mo yung sarili mo this time, are you playing the game the right way? Am I lifting enough weights to develop my body and become a better basketball player? Am I learning when I watch others play? So on and so forth. Yan yung ginagawa mo pag nagre-reflect ka. Nagtatanong ka ng mga questions and then you are doing your best to answer those questions that you are asking. That's what it means to pause and reflect. Now, you may ask, ano ba yung mga benefits niyan? Okay, paano ba nakaka-contribute yan sa ating personal growth when we pause and reflect? Let me give you the following benefits of pausing and reflecting. Number one, according to John Maxwell, one benefit is this is beneficial for us physically, especially the pause part. Kapag hinihinto mo yung mga activities mo, yung mga efforts mo towards your personal growth, it gives your body a break or nakakapagpahinga yung katawan mo. And that rest that your body experiences because you paused, you temporarily stop all the things that you have been doing, nakakatulong yon for your body to become more efficient later. In fact, because the body and the mind are highly connected to each other, yung pahinga na nakukuha ng katawan mo contributes big time to the efficiency of your mind, which is again what you need later on for personal growth. So nakakapahinga na yung katawan mo, at the same time, yung mind mo, lalo pa siyang nagiging efficient. So if I'm going to put that in a diagram, it looks something like this. You pause and reflect, and then dahil dyan nakapagpahinga yung katawan mo, nakapagpahinga yung mind mo, so yung katawan mo mas malakas, yung mind mo ngayon mas malinaw, better thinking and action, and that leads to personal growth. Kapag nag-move ka ulit, mas efficient ka kasi nakapahinga yung katawan mo at yung iyong pag-iisip mas klaro. In fact, that is the reason why in the book of Genesis, if you go back to the creation narrative, bakit ba ang Diyos nagpahinga? Why did He rest on the last day? Let's read that. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all His work that He had done in creation. Tuwing maririnig ito ng mga bata, they're asking, was God tired? That's why He rested? The answer is no. Kasi ang Diyos all-powerful, yung strength niya, it's unlimited, imposibleng mapagod ang Diyos. The reason why God rested in the seventh day is to set an example to people that our bodies need rest. Na yung katawan na binigay niya sa atin, it is not meant to have an unlimited strength. Limitado lang yung strength natin. So when we exert effort towards our personal growth, towards our goal, along the way mapapagod yung katawan natin at kailangan niyan magpahinga. So to send that message that our body is not meant to work for a lifetime, non-stop, God set an example. Diba? Ang Diyos nga na all-powerful nagpahinga ng isang araw, what more para sa mga creatures like us na yung katawan natin limited lang ang strength. So that's the reason why God rested on the seventh day. Fast forward even in the New Testament, this setting of example in connection to resting or pausing was also demonstrated by Jesus. Si Kristo nga rin ilang beses sa New Testament talagang nagpahinga siya. For example, in Mark 4:38, bago dumating yung storm na gumimbal sa mga disciples, what was Jesus doing? He was resting because they came from a field work. They came from work before this happened. So Jesus was tired, He needed rest, and so He did. Right? And then in another part of the scripture, fast forward after Mark 4:38, punta ka sa Mark 6:31, Jesus encouraged His workers to rest. So dito sa Mark 4:38, siya lang ang nagpahinga. Pinapakita niya na kailangan natin ng pahinga, pero pinakita rin niya in Mark 4:38 na hindi lang si Jesus ang may kailangan ng pahinga, even His disciples, the more kailangan nila ng pahinga. Kaya nga sinabi niya, come away by yourselves to a secluded place and rest a while. Because Jesus saw that His disciples were working so hard, and He knows, being the creator of the world, being the creator of the human body, He knows that our body needs to pause and rest para ma-regain natin yung physical strength natin and to make our minds more efficient. Number 2, another benefit of pausing and resting is it turns our experience to insight. In fact, this is more on the reflecting side. Kasi nga, dalawa yung pinag-uusapan natin dito, no? Pausing and reflecting. Now, we move on to the reflecting side. Kapag hininto mo yung mga ginagawa mo, meron kang reason bakit mo hininto yung mga ginagawa mo, and that is to reflect. But what does it mean to reflect? Pag sinabi mong, bro, wag ka munang magulo kasi magre-reflect lang ako, it means you are going somewhere quiet to ask yourself key questions about a certain experience. So yung kasabihan natin sa Tagalog na hahanapin ko muna yung sarili ko, more or less that's what it means. You go somewhere quiet and then you ask yourself questions and then you try your best to answer those questions by yourself. That's what you mean when you reflect. Pero anong magandang nangyayari when you reflect? Well, when you reflect about an experience you had, nagkakaroon ka ng insight. That is a very important word for psychological growth. Hindi nagkakaroon ng psychological growth ang tao kung wala siyang nabubuo na insight. This refers to different lessons, realizations, adjustments na pwede mong gawin to make yourself better. 'Di ba? Yun yung tinatawag nating insights. Ito yung mga bagay that can really make you grow as a person. Pero hindi mangyayari yung insight, hindi mo makukuha yung insight if you did not pause and reflect in the first place. Kung hindi mo nasagot yung mga tanong na dapat tinatanong mo sa sarili mo while you're reflecting, hindi ka ngayon magkakaroon ng insight. That's the reason why reflecting is very important, kasi yung end product niyan is the insight that will help you personally grow. Halimbawa, bigyan ko kayo ng concrete example. For the first time in your life, pumasok ka sa business. Bumili ka ng siomai franchise, meron kang siomai cart. And this is the first time that you have been doing a siomai business. That is a key experience. Yung pumasok ka sa business ng siomai, you are trying to earn money every day. This is an experience. Now, let's say 1 month straight kang nagtatrabaho, talagang araw-araw iniisip mo kung paano mo mapapaunlad yung siomai business mo. If you apply the law of reflection, along the way you need to pause and reflect. So, hihinto mo muna yung activity mo para palaguin mo yung siomai business mo, and then you reflect. You ask yourself certain questions about that experience that you are having, which is in this case, yung nagpapatakbo ka ng siomai business. So kapag magre-reflect ka, ito yung mga mahalagang tanong na dapat mong sagutin. How is the siomai? Diba? Kamusta naman yung lasa? Ano ba yung mga comment ng mga tao sa siomai na niluluto mo at binebenta mo sa kanila? Kamusta naman yung kita ng iyong business? Ano yung mga problemang na-encounter mo so far in your siomai business? Ano yung mga magagandang bagay na naranasan mo while running your business? Hindi ko lang nalagay dyan. It's also very important to ask, what are the bad things that happened to you while you're doing your business? Ano kaya yung naging cause? Bakit nangyari yung mga bad things na yon? All those questions na binigay ko na nakalagay dyan sa screen, kinakailangan yung sagutin. That's what you do in reflection. You ask yourself questions about that experience you have, and then you answer those questions. Hindi pwedeng puro tanong ka lang. Kailangan mag-a-attempt ka talaga na sagutin yung mga tanong na tinatanong mo in your reflection. Bakit? Anong magandang nangyayari kapag nasasagot mo yung mga questions na yan? That is where insight will be developed. Doon nagkakaroon ng insight. Doon ka na nakakakita ng mga aral, ng mga realizations. Doon ka nakakakita ng mga adjustments that you can all apply later on para mas maging mapadali yung iyong pagpunta in your personal growth. In fact, I would say that insight that you will have from your reflection, yan ngayon yung magiging foundation of your personal growth. So you can only imagine, after mo magmuni-muni, after mo mag-reflect, and you continue your siomai business, you resume all the actions, all the movements, baon-baon mo yung insight na yan. 'Di ba? That will definitely move you towards success. Mas magiging magaling yung pagpapatakbo mo ng siomai business mo because this time nagkaroon ka na ng insight. Pero again, hindi ka nagkaroon ng insight kung hindi ka nag-pause at hindi ka nag-reflect. So this time, as you continue your show my business, ito na ngayon yung mga baon mong insights. Now you have better strategy, mas magaling ka na sa pagbabudget, you are able to stop the wrong actions that you have been doing, and nagkakaroon ka ng mga adjustments o mga pagbabago, nababago mo yung mga maling desisyon na mga ginawa mo. See? So your business becomes stronger, it grows better because you have insight, which comes from the process of reflection. Kaya nga sabi ng isang author, in connection to reflection, no? Experience is not the best teacher. Your insight of the experience is. Alam mo, I agree. Kasi marami mga tao naniniwala experience is the best teacher. Hindi eh. Kasi pwedeng meron ka lang experience pero hindi ka naman nag-reflect. Hindi ka naman nagtanong ng mga questions and search answers for those questions. Wala lang, nangyari lang yung experience. Kung hindi mo naman prenoseso, kung hindi ka naman nag-reflect, then it will not teach you anything. That's why I agree with these words. Experience is not the best teacher but the insight of the experience is. Dapat mo munang iproseso yung experience and then from there, makakabuo ka ng insight. But how do you make that happen? By doing reflection. And again, like I mentioned just a while ago, it involves what? Reflection involves asking and answering those questions. That's what it means to reflect. Pero gusto ko rin yung sinabi ni Peter Drucker about this. Follow effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. Actually, sinamarize ni Peter Drucker yung mga sinabi ko just a while ago, di ba? Bakit nagiging mas effective yung action mo after your reflection? Because after your reflection, you are able to gain insight. At saan nanggaling yung insight? Again, sa pagsagot mo sa mga tanong na mahalagang sagutin. So that's benefit number 2. Nagkakaroon ka ng insight when you pause and reflect. And number 3, another advantage when you pause and reflect is nape-prevent mo yung tinatawag nating action blindness. Okay, this is a self-developed term, no? Ako yung nag-coin ng term na yan, pero connected din naman ito sa sinasabi ni John Maxwell in his book. Action blindness is your inability to see or to identify good ideas due to exertion of effort. Sa simpleng Tagalog, yung action blindness, ang ibig sabihin yan, bulag ka sa mga bagay na dapat mong ginagawa dahil super busy nung mind mo sa paggalaw towards your personal growth. Siguro para mas malinaw, no? Yung tinasabi kong action blindness, it looks something like this. Kapag meron kasi tayong goal sa buhay, we want to gain personal growth. Yung attention natin at yung effort natin, syempre lahat nakabuhos dyan sa goal. Diba? So lahat ng movements natin na ginagawa natin everyday, when we learn, when we read books, when we network, when we invest our money, when we take care of our business, lahat yan na ginagawa dito, yung mga action na yan, are all going towards the goal that we have in mind. Diyan tayo nakatingin. Diretso lang tayo nakatingin doon sa gusto nating patunguhan, which is again, the goal. Pero ang disadvantage dito is, posible kasi, while you are so busy moving right here, exerting effort to make your goals happen, you miss different things on the side. Diba? Hindi mo naiisip yung mga good ideas na meron ka or a better idea. Hindi mo nakikita yung mga bad decisions sa ginagawa mo. Hindi mo nakikita yung mga opportunities. Hindi mo nakikita yung mga adjustments na dapat mong gawin. Why? Why are you blind from these things? Because your mind is too much focused on the goal. Galaw ka kasi ng galaw dito. Kaya yung paggalaw mo, yung mga efforts mo are all going towards the goal that you don't sense. Hindi mo nakikita yung mga bagay na magaganda na nandito sa paligid mo. That's what you mean by action blindness. Mahirap talaga makita yung mga bagay na yan when you are in the action, when you are exerting effort. hindi mo masyado iisipin yung good idea, better idea, or opportunities on the side because you are so much focused on the goal. Pero ang nangyayari, going back to the diagram, kapag nagpo-pause and reflect ka, inihinto mo muna yung ginagawa mo. Wala munang movement. Huminto ka muna at nag-isip-isip ka. You began reflecting. You ask yourself questions about your experience. Now, yung mind mo mas magiging sensitive, mas magiging receptive na sa mga ideas na yan na kanina hindi mo nakikita. Because now you have more time. Right? Now your mind can wander, can move around the different thoughts around your head. Now you can see all these things na kanina hindi mo nakikita because you are so busy moving towards your goal. And so what do? Habang nakikita mo na yung mga bagay na yan, na overcome mo na yung action blindness mo, now you can use all those things that you realize here to become your insight. So dyan na ngayon nanggagaling yung insight na sinasabi natin in the previous point. And as you continue moving after your reflection, i-resume mo na naman yung movements mo towards your goal. Now you become more efficient in running after your goal because meron ka ng baong insight. And those insights, hindi mangyayari yan kung hindi mo na-overcome yung tinatawag nating action blindness. In fact, the best example that I could think of that supports this framework is yung nangyayari sa basketball. 'Di ba? Yan nga yung reason bakit ang mga coaches nagta-time out eh. Bakit ba ang isang coach nagta-time out? Ano ba ang nangyayari during a time out? Ang nangyayari during time out, if you know basketball, no, is the same thing as this. This is one way to pause and reflect in the game of basketball. Kasi yung mga magagandang bagay na to that can make the team win a game. For example, most players won't see these things. Most coaches won't see these things when the action is going on. So going back, halimbawa, again ang example natin dito yung basketball, habang naglalaro ng basketball, habang nagtatakbuhan yung mga players, while they are trying to win the game, ganito ang itsura nila. 'Di ba? Hindi nila nakikita to. Meron silang action blindness because they are so busy shooting basketball and defending their opponents. Pero kapag nag-time out si coach, hihinto ang game, wala mo nang magdidribble, wala mo nang magpapasahan, wala mo nang magbabantayan. And when players sit on the bench, including the coach, now the mind can freely see these things around them. Diba? And during timeout, ano mangyayari? Kokolektahin nila yung mga bagay na yan and that becomes their insight. Pagbalik nila sa court, they become a better team to win the game. Kaya ang daming ang daming similarities ng framework that I'm discussing and how we play the game of basketball. That's how important pausing and reflecting is. In fact, meron din present si John Maxwell na supporting study just to show to you how important it is that we overcome our action blindness. No? In this study, kumuha sila ng dalawang grupo ng mga tao who is going to take an exam, general IQ exam. So for the first group of people, they are exclusively high IQ people. Matataas yung kanilang mga katalinuhan. While the second group, although hindi naman sobrang baba ng IQ, but their IQ is not that high, it's not as high compared to the people in the first group. But what's the difference? For the first group, although matataas yung IQ nila, they were time pressured to finish the exam. Merong time limit. So, ang assumption dito, if you belong to this group, when you take the exam, talagang bibilisan mo. You cannot afford to pause. Kasi nga may time limit, hindi mo matatapos yung exam, dapat tuloy-tuloy lang yung movement mo to pass the exam. But for the second group, for the group na hindi ganun kataas yung IQ, wala silang time pressure. They can finish the test na walang time pressure. Take your time in their own pace. And so the people who designed that study wanted to know who will get a higher score. Well, yung mga tao, syempre, kung ikaw yung tatanungin, ang una mong sasabihin, this group must be getting a higher score compared to this group because they have high IQ. Pero according to the results, hindi ganon ang nakita nila. Even if these people have higher IQs and these people have lower IQs, guess what? This group na walang time pressure, kahit na mababa ang IQ nila, they got higher scores in the exam than the first group. At ano ang explanation doon? Because this group has a benefit that this group does not. What's that? This group, the second group, has the benefit of pausing and reflecting about their performance while they are completing the exam. Nakapag-pause and reflect kasi yung pangalawang grupo. Yung unang grupo, dahil meron silang time pressure, wala silang pause and reflect, hindi sila nakadevelop ng insights in their performance, leading them to have poorer performance compared to the second group. O diba, ganyan kahalaga yung pausing and reflecting, overcoming action blindness to develop insight. Kaya ang isang conclusion dito, no, based on this study is, speed can blind your insight. Kapag lagi kang nagmamadali, kapag lagi kang on the move, okay, wala ka ng time to pause and reflect, lagi ka nalang umaarangkada, there is always a tendency na hindi ka nakaka-develop ng insight because you are not reflecting about the efforts that you are doing. So ano ang solution dyan? If speed can blind your insight, you will deal with the speed. And how do we deal with the speed? Pabagalin mo, pahintuin mo. That's why you need to pause, and after you pause, you reflect. Alright, so I hope you're learning so far right now. Now, let me close this video by discussing, mabilis lang, paano ba ginagawa yung pause and reflect. Meron ako mga guidelines na gustong ibigay sa inyo for you to have a very fruitful pausing and reflecting activity. Unahin muna natin yung pause. Ano ba yung mga dapat yung malaman when it comes to pausing? Number one, you need to find time to pause. Okay? You need to schedule pausing. Ang pausing, hindi siya pwedeng kung kailan mo lang trip, bigla mo lang ihinto lahat ng ginagawa mo, especially if there are people under you. Halimbawa, business owner ka. Hindi naman pwedeng kung kailan mo trip na, Wednesday ngayon, parang gusto kong mag-pause. Huwag mo na kayong pumasok, that wouldn't work. Diba? Hindi pwedeng biglaan, gusto mo lang mag-pause, paano naman yung mga tao na umaasa sa'yo? So, the idea here is when you pause, it involves scheduling. Ilulook forward mo kailan yung day na magpo-pause ka. Okay? And then, second point, kapag magpo-pause ka from the activities that you are doing to achieve your goal, kinakailangan meron kang reflection points. Kailangan laging may reason bakit ka nagpo-pause. Usually naman ang reason kaya ka nagpo-pause is, again, number one is rest. Siguro gusto mong ma-rejuvenate yung strength mo. Ayaw mong ma-burnout. Number two, which I think is more important reason for pausing is nakakakita ka ng mga problems. Diba? Nakakita ka ng mga issues in the process of you achieving your goal. Mukhang may problema sa proseso ng show my business mo. Mukhang may problema sa pagbabudget ng pera. May problema ka sa budget ng show my business mo. Usually, yun yung mga reasons bakit ka mag-iisip na mag-pause. You need to identify those reasons. Diba? Ano yung mga bagay na i-reflect mo o pag-iisipan mo after you pause? Hindi pwedeng pause ka kasi wala lang, gusto ko lang mag-enjoy. Again, okay lang naman yung gusto mo mag-enjoy because you want to overcome burnout, but you should not do this randomly. There must be always a reason why you want to pause. Yun yung tinatawag nating reflection points. Ano yung mga bagay na pag-iisipan mo kapag nag-pause ka na? And last one, the third point for pausing is, eto na yung actual execution ng pausing. Ang ibig sabihin talaga ng pausing, you stop all activities. Talagang wala kang gagawin in connection to moving towards your goal because you are in the pausing phase. As in, hindi pwedeng may konti kang gagawin or susundot-sundot ka ng trabaho and then you call that pausing. It will not work. You know why? Kasi kapag pasundot-sundot ka ng trabaho, yung attention mo mahahati between yung pagsundot mo sa trabaho and your reflection. We don't like that. We want 100% of your attention to your reflection. Gusto natin lahat ng mental resources mo, you will be spending in the process of reflection. Hindi yung 50% ng utak mo nandoon sa pagre-reflect mo, 50% nandoon sa pagsundot-sundot mo ng trabaho. Kung pause lahat. And also another thing that I want to warn you about when you pause is how do you deal with the guilt? Lalong-lalo na yung mga workaholics, no? Maraming mga tao, kapag nagpo-pause sila, nagigilty sila that they are pausing. They don't like the feeling that they are not moving any closer to the goal that they want for themselves. Again, tendency yan ng mga workaholic. Nagigilty sila when they pause. How do you deal with the guilt? If you are a person who is like that, you feel bad when you pause kasi feeling mo nasasayang oras mo, palitan mo yung thinking mo about pausing. Diba? In psychology, we call that reframing. You reframe the way you look at pausing. Bakit ka ba nagpo-pause in the first place? Ano ang dapat mong isipin? Because this is an investment. This is a time investment. Yes, hindi ako nagmo-move forward ngayon towards my goal because I am pausing myself. But guess what? After this, after I move again, ano mangyayari? Guess what? I will be better. I will be more efficient in moving towards the goal that I want for myself. Kumbaga, meron namang ROI yan or return of investment. Isipin mo na lang ganun, na yung pagpo-pause mo na ito, wala ka mang output for this day. Pag nag-resume ka na ulit ng work, the return of investment will be much, much better. Alright, so those are the 3 points that you have to remember when it comes to pausing. Punta naman tayo sa reflection. So nag-pause ka na, hininto mo na yung mga bagay na dapat mong gawin, paano ba ang tamang mag-reflect? Again, when we talk about reflection, ano yung key idea doon? Questions. Pause or reflection is a process or is a phase where you ask yourself questions and you try your best to answer those questions. So, ang pwedeng guideline dito, very general guideline to guide you on what questions to ask yourself in connection to one experience, pwede ka naman mag-SWOT analysis Yung SWOT analysis, ginagamit ito to really reflect about an experience, no? Or let's say you have a business, if you want to reflect about business performance, you can use SWOT analysis. Ano ba yung mga strength ng business ko, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat? So you answer those questions and again, you collect those answers to the questions and you form that into an insight. Pero if you want more specific questions, kasi yung SWOT analysis guideline lang to, no? Oo, pero ito yung mga tanong na naisip ko na mahalagang tinatanong talaga ng isang tao na nagre-reflect. If you want to take note of the following, you can copy the following questions. Number 1, am I moving to the goal I want to achieve? Am I growing? What are the indicators that I am actually growing? Yan, mahalagang tanong yan, especially the indicators mahalaga na habang nagre-reflect ka, talagang quantitatively, meron kang paraan para masukat mo o meron kang ebidensya para mapatunayan mo whether or not you are getting closer to the goal, whether or not you are growing. Okay? Sa simpleng English, dapat meron kang metric dyan para masagot mo yung question number 1. How can you say that you have moved? How can you say that you have become more successful today than you were yesterday? Dapat yung mga tanong na yon, meron kang paraan to answer those questions in quantitative terms. Meron kang mga indicators. Paano mo malalaman that you are getting closer to your personal goal? Number 2, what are the right things I am doing? Mahalagang tanong din yan. Ano ba yung mga tamang bagay na ginagawa mo? Kasi ito yung mga bagay na dapat na tuloy-tuloy mo lang ginagawa kasi tama yung ginagawa mo. Diba? Pero syempre, tatanungin mo rin, ano naman yung mga wrong things, mga maling bagay na ginagawa mo currently. And it's important to identify those wrong things you do today. Why? Because by the time you resume your movement again, these are the things that you need to stop doing para mas maging maganda yung pag-move mo towards your goal. Mga bagay na mali mong ginagawa, therefore dapat mo nang ihinto, ang paggawa or dapat magkaroon ka ng adjustment in the way you do it. So anong mali sa siomai business mo? Bakit kaya hindi masyadong kumikita yung siomai business mo? Bakit kaya hindi masarap yung mga comment? Bakit yung mga comment ng mga tao hindi raw masarap ang siomai mo? You take note of those things. You answer that question. Number 4, what other resources do you need to move you towards your personal growth or to the goal that you want to achieve? Meron ka pa bang dapat bilhin? Meron ka pa bang dapat skill na dapat matutunan? Meron ka bang mga trainings na dapat attenan? So that later on, when you resume movement, you become faster, you become better in achieving your personal growth. And of course, last one, number 5, ano yung mga adjustments o yung mga improvements na dapat mong gawin later on after you resume your movement again? Ang principle dito, dapat yung merong magbabago sa mga ginagawa mo after your reflection phase. Hindi pwedeng yung ginagawa mo before you pause and reflected are exactly the same as what you will be doing after you pause and reflect. Along the way, dapat merong mga pagbabago yan. Kaya ka nga nag-pause and reflect eh. Diba? Kasi gusto mo makakuha ng insight. And that insight that you get within pausing and reflecting will change some of your ways. So dapat may pagbabago kang mga gagawin after pausing and reflecting. Pag nag-pause and reflect ka, tapos wala namang pagbabago sa mga ginawa mo, kung paano ka before pausing and reflecting, ganun ka pa rin after pausing and reflecting, then your pausing and reflecting did not do its job. Pausing and reflecting involves changes in the way you do things for the better. In fact, one good example of a person I know in the Bible na talagang gumamit ng pausing and reflecting is none other than Jesus Christ Himself. Remember that part in the Bible, malapit na siyang hulihin and He knows it, He will undergo crucifixion. Talagang kailangan mag-pause and reflect ni Jesus to have a clearer perspective on the things to come. So if you read the Bible, paano nag-pause and reflect si Jesus? He prayed. Nagpasama siya sa kanyang mga disciples, let's go somewhere because I need to pray. And then, that's where he talked to God. And reflected and meditated on what are the things to come. Another lesson we can learn here, in connection to that Bible passage is when we reflect, pwede rin nating isama dyan yung prayer. Kasi when you reflect, that's entirely on you eh. Diba? Nagre-reflect ka, sinasagot mo yung mga tanong about your experiences, so the answers to those questions comes from here, your own. Pero it would also help a lot when after you reflect or even before you reflect, you also integrate into your pausing and reflecting phase prayer and meditation of God's Word. Ask wisdom from God. Lord, tulungan niyo naman ako after ko ng pause and reflecting ko na to, what are the things that I need to change for me to be better in achieving the goals you want me to achieve? After all, God is a God of wisdom. I remember Proverbs 3:5-6, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him and He shall make your paths straight. So, before or after you reflect, please don't forget to ask wisdom coming from God because this will help you big time in really achieving the goal or the growth that you want for yourself. Tapos, wag nyo rin kakalimutan in connection to the reflection phase, na lahat dapat ng tanong nyo o lahat ng sagot na makukuha nyo from these questions. Remember, in reflection, you ask yourself these questions, right? Pag sinasagot nyo yung mga tanong na yan, in the process of answering those questions, dapat sinusulat sa notebook. Okay? Or in other words, dapat nakadocument yan. Wag na wag kayo magre-reflect, nag-a-ask kayo ng question, sinasagot nyo yung tanong na hindi nyo nililista. That's very important. Because generally, people have poor memories, na kapag after mo mag-reflect, tapos hindi mo nilista yung mga sagot, baka malimutan mo. Sayang yung insight. We want to capture the insight inside our notebooks. Diyan mo ilalagay yung mga insights mo. Para kapag magre-resume ka na ulit ng work, 'di ba? Habang nandoon ka na naman sa aksyon, meron kang hard copy, meron kang documentation of the insights na magpapaganda sa effort mo to achieve your personal growth. Alright? So some important points before we end this video on the law of reflection. I have 4. Number 1, growth requires reflection. Kung gusto mo talaga ng personal growth, according to John Maxwell, you need to undergo the process of reflection. Reflection leads to insight. Kaya ka nagre-reflect kasi magkakaroon ka ng insight. And that insight that you will get from reflection is what will improve your actions or your behaviors, which will make it faster and easier for you to achieve the personal growth that you want. And last one, number 4, wag nating kakalimutan na ang successful reflection is all about asking and answering important questions about your experiences. Okay, that's what it means to really reflect. Being smart in the way you ask questions, you ask the right questions, you are honest in answering those questions, you document those answers to the questions, and from there you develop insight, and that insight you will use as you resume again to achieve your personal growth. Okay, so I hope marami kayong natutunan in our short episode today on the law of reflection. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to post them down below in the comment section. Thank you again for listening, everyone. Have a great day. Sir Howard here, and God bless. Bye-bye.